Everyone has something to share, and either wisdom, story, or logic. And it's clearly amazing to hear all the differing missing links discovered by people unique to their own journeys, and in how they have come to discover them. Together, we can help to build a bigger picture for a better future, for a brighter tomorrow. Let's stand united. Let's remove the veils, and let's create a new world together. Are you that missing link? Join Jesse Hale on the Missing Link Talk Show as he helps to unveil the mystery through the unique wisdom and store of others.
Welcome everybody here back to The Missing Link. Today we're excited and honored to have back for a second time an investigative journalist that works exclusively for the public and is associated with no news or government organization. He's a man of faith. He's been doing this for a very, very long time, and he's here to share his knowledge and story with us on The Missing Link. Welcome to The Missing Link, Daniel Alexander Cannon. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing great, and you got my name perfect, so I'm doing great. So as an introduction for myself, again, I am Alexander Cannon. I'm the host of TheSupernatural.Show. We're on YouTube, Rumble, DLive, Odyssey, every platform that basically you can go live on almost. I'm live on, I have channels on all of them. Some people also know me by Logic Before Authority as well, which is another channel that I have on YouTube that I've had for about 15 years, although I've had it terminated 4 times for telling too much truth occasionally. And like I said, I've been doing this for about 15 years. I've dedicated my life to understanding and trying to discern the lies that have been embedded in our minds since we were born as a child. And the first things we started learning, most of it was our parents thought they were telling us the truth. Our pastor thought he was telling us the truth. The doctor thought he was doing the right thing. The teacher thought they were telling us the truth and teaching us the history and truth about how things work. Unfortunately, most all of it were lies. And I woke up to this, somewhere between 15 to 55 years ago, which is when I was born. It's been a slow process until I finally woke up and realized that something's not right, and I've got to figure out what it is. And I went all in, and I've been all in ever since, and I've dedicated my life to it. This is something that I'll be doing the rest of my life, and in one form or another, and even here on YouTube and other platforms, as long as I can, as long as they will allow us. So I surely appreciate you having me back again, Jesse. I look forward to the conversation.
Awesome, and appreciate you. So thanks for coming here and streaming this out to your channels. That's great. Welcome everybody from the Logic Before Authority, and I'm not sure what the other channel is, but I
had Rumble on there, but I switched it because it wasn't working. I switched it to the Supernatural.Show channel.
Supernatural.Show. So
we're streaming on Logic Before Authority and the Supernatural.Show.
So I just want to make everyone aware. So Ryan is commenting from one of Daniel's 2 channels here, but we're also streaming live here on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, our YouTube channel, which is The Missing Link Live, Twitch, Twitter, and Rumble. Then we get uploaded to BitChute, Telegram, Odyssey, and the Dollar Vigilante show. TV picked up our show as well. So if you see comments that you're not seeing in your own platform, it's because it's other comments, and I like to put them all up so you can communicate between platforms. If you see somebody's comment you like, you can actually say put their name, and so they'll get that, and I like how people comment in between platforms. So I guess my first question I have for you, when you said that these lies are embedded into people, could you be fair to say that this is the spell that's being put under people? It's like these lies are almost like they're spellcasters. They're casting these spells, and people think that these lies are truth, but it's actually they're just under a spell, and then they live their life under the spell thinking that lies are actually truth?
Well, to answer that question simply, and then I'm going to elaborate, yes. But what you have to understand is that the language that we speak, the English language, is one of the latter and last languages to ever be created on Earth. And it was intended to be a language that would spread across the entire Earth, and so that the world would have one language. If you go to China, English is mandatory. Japan and other places around the world, it's mandatory that they learn how to speak it in school these days. And the reason for that is that the English language is a coded spell casting language. We don't even know the words that we speak. We don't even understand our own language. And I say that because it's the truth, but it disturbs me even when I say it, because our language, the words and the sounds are what they're doing is they're using us to cast the spells for them. Like all these catchwords and catchphrases and things that go viral and such, a lot of times that's mainstream, not like from us because we don't ever go viral, but for mainstream stuff, they use us to create these sounds. So we create an utterance. These utterances are the spell casting that you're referring to. So we're taught as a child to speak the language of the beast, is what we've been taught. Unfortunately, that is the case. Now we can still go and learn other languages, which I know a little bit of a few other languages, but I ain't gonna show off because I ain't that good. But the English language is it's mathematically coded and frequency coded. And the reason they do that is because they know, they don't tell us this, but they know that we are manifestors and that our mouth is a manifester. And that if they can get all of the people to be manifesting the same words, they can create and control the magic trick that they're pulling on all of us, the ritual that they're pulling on all of us. And that's a hard nickel to swallow, but unfortunately, it's the truth. And it's one of the things I've learned in my studies is that we are speaking their language.
Now, when you mention the manifester, so we're created in God's image. We're able to help co-create, manifest. We're able to, we manifest things into this realm. Someone I saw, post that, oh, manifestation, that's demonic, that's spell casting. And, why would some people feel that, if you think it, you try to create it, it would be bad, or it would be, a spell casting or something to try to just manifest something into existence?
Well, it's a lack of knowledge on the individual's understandings of what we're really talking about. You see, you led me into a direction that I know a lot about, so I'm going to share it with you. Okay. Our mouth, I said it's a manifester. What our mouth is our mouth is what I call a point of creation. We have numerous of them upon our body, and there are points of creation in nature as well, many of them. Now, if you think about the Holy Spirit led me down this path over the last many years now, and understanding how our world works and how it functions, what it looks like, everything. See, the word world, when you say world, you think WORLD. Actually, the true spelling of it is WHIRLED, world, the spin, okay? And the Bible says many times throughout the Bible that God speaks out of the whirlwind, the spinning storm, and it refers to that throughout the Bible many times. It describes in the book of Enoch the spinning wheels within wheels. It's talking about the same imagery or likeness. And of course, God created us in his likeness. He not only created us, he created the whole world, WHRLED. We live in a world. We live in the eye of the world. We live in the image of, like you could think of a hurricane or the water going down your toilet, or a tornado. That eye where there's calmness in the center, yet turmoil, in our case, chaos and other things, but we live in that eye, that center of the eye. And what Father began to show me is how our bodies are in the image of this world and also of the in the image of the heavens above. And he one day told me, he said, how many lights did I put in the heavens? How many lights do you have in your head? And I recognized he was talking about my eyes. And I recognized by looking closely at my eyes and photos of eyes that they look like an eclipse taking place, that your eyes look like an eclipse or look like the sun and the moon basically as one. And so if your eyes are like the sun and the moon in the heavens, the sun and the moon also represent as well feminine and masculine, the moon being feminine, the sun being masculine. And prior to the eclipse coming up, that event taking place, I told everyone that this is an opportunity for a gateway to open, okay, for when the sun and the moon come together in perfect form on top of each other. It's just like a man and a woman coming together in perfect form on top of each other. And just like when a child is going to be born, when a man and a woman come together, and there is something that goes into the woman and it leaves sperm, obviously. So something goes through. And then because this area of the body for a woman is a point of creation, just like the eye, with the eye, light goes in, but maybe nothing comes out. But that area of the body, something goes in and something comes back out, which is a baby. It's a gateway. It's something where either something goes through or something may come out. And what happens, though, when sperm is deposited in the womb, what happens is that when the sperm and the egg come together, there is a spark that takes place. Shortly thereafter, the sun and the moon coming together, I predicted before the sun and the moon came together in this eclipse, I said we have the potential here, and the Holy Spirit was telling me that this is going to be a crossing, this is going to be a coming down, that there is something coming down from the heavens, and it ain't Christ, okay? There's the anti-version of that coming down is what would come down, and that there would be a great spark that would take place, just like during the birth and creation of a child. And so I said it on my channel. I said, prior to the eclipse, I said, when the moon and the sun and the moon come together, just like a man and a woman against each other like that, that it would produce a spark, a very large spark. And what did we have right after the eclipse? We had the largest auroras, the largest spark in known time to come off of the sun and create the auroras that were seen all the way around the world. And of course, we also seen videos and footage of dark things flying down, coming down from above. They were flying through the clouds. They were shadow being type things, entities. And we also seen a chariot of fire, where that fire that was floating in the sky and it had a dark rider on its back. I don't know if you've seen that, Jesse, but that was a crossing. That was, in my opinion, that was the spirit, the birth of the spirit of the Antichrist coming down. Now, why would I say that? Is it biblical? Yes, it is. If you go back to the time that Christ was crucified, it is said that day that the sun went dark and the moon didn't give its light, basically, that there was an eclipse that took place on the day of his crucifixion. Now, we know something about, we know a little bit about eclipses. One thing we know is that they happen every 33 years in the exact same spot. Okay. So that means if Christ was crucified, I believe personally on his birthday, he lived a perfect 33 years. And of course, 33, we could go into all these other things about how the occult get into that, but a lot of it's based on this. 33 years. Then he would have to go back 33 years, and you would come to his birth date in the Middle East, there where he was born, and there would have been an eclipse to take place on that day as well. So Christ came through on that day as birth, and then he left also on a day when the eclipse took place. So we have a biblical likeness to what I'm speaking of when I say that on April 8th, the Antichrist spirit came down and is here and is manifesting and energizing itself. We've seen all the energies in the sky. We've seen all the images. I showed a bunch of them on my channel. They're still over there for anybody to go look at, of all the auroras, and it looked like a lot of the images. I know there's a thing called pareidolia, but a lot of the images seemed like manifestation of things. Maybe it was all pareidolia. I'm not so sure. There's too many coincidences in this world, and I think that a lot of them are not coincidences. So I can elaborate more on that. Briefly, I'll say this. Our bodies have multiple things that look like the eye on it, where something goes in or something comes out. Okay? Our eye is one. And our eye, reason why it's in the image of a point of creation where something can come through, is because it's in the image of the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant had two cherubims where it had its wings stretched out across the mercy seat. And it says that the cherubims had a greater wing and a set of lesser wings. Our eyes have lesser eyelid on the bottom, that's the lesser wing, and the eyelid on top, that is a greater wing. And they close and they come together and they open, and something comes in, which is allowing light in, allowing the windows to the soul basically to open up. Now, so we noticed that our eyes had wings. They have in the likeness of wings. Okay. On a woman's body, for instance, we can go there and we can see that a woman's private parts, we'll just call it a woman's private parts, has a set of wings on it that look like a dress kind of hanging down. This is why the Catholics have the Mother Mary image of the woman standing on the moon with the sun behind her back, and she has this flowing dress on. It represents the female reproductive part, is what it represents, and it has a set of wings, a greater set of wings and a lesser set of wings, and it exists in the middle of two round toroidal likenesses, kind of like sun and the moon, which, and this is going to sound absolutely insane to a few of you, but it is your buttocks. Okay, they are round like that, and they come together, and right in the middle is the vesica Pisces that sits right in the middle, which is the point of creation that has the greater wings and the lesser wings. And another thing, an attribute that points of creation also have, is foliage around them, because they're in the image of the garden, the trees in the garden. They have foliage around them. In our case, it's hair. We have hair around points of creation. Around our eyes, we have eyelashes and also eyebrows. Around our mouth, which is a point of creation, which has a lesser wing and a greater wing, and has foliage around it and can manifest. Things can go in on this one and come out. Then you go to the breast. You have two more round toroidal things, which are the breasts. And we all know that when they come together, when they're pushed together, they have more magnetic attractiveness. And for a man, nothing goes in and nothing comes out. But for a woman, a creative substance comes out for the child once he's born, which is milk. These are in the image of a storm as well. You have the areola area, and you have the nipple in the middle, which is just like the pupil in the middle of your eye and that round circle around it. The same thing's going on your chest. And those round things I'm talking about, same thing with your eyeballs. They're round just like that. And with our eyes sitting right in the middle between it is called the ethmoid bone, which is a discovery that I made a year or two ago. And the ethmoid bone it looks like a cross, looks like a person on a cross, and it has a veil hanging on it. And it sits right here in the middle between your eyes, exactly in the middle of your eyes. It's very small, and it looks like a man on a cross with a veil hanging down. And it also looks just like Noah's Ark. It has the image of a boat. It has the portals in the top of it. I mean, I could show it to you if you really wanted me to, but it sits here and it's right in between. And that's where the magic happens for us. This is the point right in there that's called the Christa Galley. A galley is a place on a boat where things hang out, people hang out, something hangs out in the galley. And what kind of galley is it? It's the Christa Galley. It's the name of that bone right there. It's the tip of the ethmoid bone is called the Christa Galley. It's the place in you in which the fire burns. Right back in there is your connection with the heavens above. That's why when all this stuff was going on the last 2 years, they were trying to jam things up your nose. They knew that the Egyptians found that they could, that veil that hung down on that ethmoid bone is like it's a very thin, porous bone, and you could the Egyptians would jam up in there and they would break that bone, break the veil, bust through the veil, and it would turn that person into a mindless servant, and then they would just do whatever they're told. And that's what they were doing with those long syringes, is they were not syringes, Q-tips. They were hitting that veil. They were rubbing substance that was on that Q-tip. It was not pure. There was a crystalline material on it, on that cotton, and they were rubbing it on the inside of your veil that separates the holy place, because this is the Holy of Holies, but it separated the Holy of Holies, the seat of God within you. They were trying to bust through that veil or either put something on that veil that would affect you for the rest of your life, especially if they got you to take the snake bite that went along with it.
Yeah, I've been telling people about that Egyptian ceremony to break that blood-brain barrier, and that's what they would do to their slaves. And,
Yep.
it would make them to be more submissive once they had that broken. So that was part of this ritual that they were doing, as you notice, because if they just wanted to take a little sample, they could just put it in. But for some reason, they were jamming it up there. We saw videos of even children bleeding out of their nose after they're putting it far into their head. So it wasn't about just taking a swab sample. It
No.
was a ritual, and they were trying to break these blood-brain barriers in order to get people to be more submissive to this demonic, exercise or whatever this was, ritual that they were doing up on the people.
Yep. Exactly. There was a crystalline substance. It was a self-replicating crystalline substance that all it needed was a warm environment and moisture, and it will self-replicate it. And what the crystalline material was designed to do was to become an antenna, because your antenna, your connection with the heavens and with Source, is right here in your head. It's in the Holy of Holies, where Father exists within you, sitting on the ethmoid bone, which is in the image of Noah's Ark and in the image of Christ on the cross. And they want to reconnect you. They've got, some of you took that, but you didn't take this. Well, if you just took this, you've got the antenna in you, my opinion. You've got the antenna in you, but you don't have the operating system in you. And if you'll stay away from all needles and anything else that that you shouldn't be messing with, you're not going to get the operating system in you. Because when they put this in you, they were doing a lot of things. But one of the things was they were installing software, or hardware and software. Computers these days are the size of a tip of a needle. It can be a full-fledged computer. And the information is out there if you go searching for it. And they can take that and they can put it inside the human body, and the body itself produces a lot of energy, so that computer can just live off and run off of the energy that's within all of us.
Now, what do you know about, pharmakia and how this black magic, in all of the medication, somehow they're putting some kind of spells into the medications, why people need to be really weary of, or be very very aware that they could be putting some of this stuff into their body by even putting a Tylenol in, to it, because it seems like that's part of their, black magic spell. Their ritual is to, infect people with as much of these toxins. Benzene, a big part of it is, part of this allopathic oil-based medicine. I think oil is part of this ritual, putting it into people's bodies.
Well, so far as pharmakia goes, of course, pharmakia is a biblical term that where the word pharmacy comes from. And so when you go down to your local pharmacy, you see the people standing back there in their white coats, and they are in a position of authority. They're a what do you call the guy there that runs the pharmacy? He's the pharmacist. Yeah, there's the pharmacist in. So he's the pharmacist. But what he really is he is part of the white horse, the biblical white horse. Pharmakia is the white horse. You see, because all of these doctors, they wear the white. Said the white horse came out, and he had it's a very powerful thing. That's why they use the imagery of a white horse. I know some people think the first horse in the four horses is Christ coming back. It's not. That is pharmakia is what that is. And he said that he had a bow and he had a crown, and he went out to conquer and to conquer. So something of great power that's white. Okay, that's all of the pharmacists and all of their assistants. They're running around these white shirts, these white jackets, and all the doctors wearing their white. Everybody pretending to be pure, pretending to be there to help you, but they're not. They're here to conquer you, is what they're here to do, is what they're trying to do with pharmakia. Said that he had a bow, something that pulled back and went forth like a syringe. Okay, it's like a syringe. He had a bow. And what does a bow have on it? It has a point that goes in you, like a syringe. And what is the syringe designed based on? The serpent's tooth. It's exactly the serpent's tooth. And it says that, talking about bows that he had, if you take the mask, it's called a death mask or a judgment mask. I'll explain why in a minute. The mask, if you take the mask, in order to, if you took people a piece of simple fabric, okay, the simplest of just flat fabric, whatever it's made out of, and you want to cut a pattern, out of it in order to make a mask, what you have to do is you have to create a bow, something that's in the shape of a bow tie. And what you do is you cut it right down the middle, and then take the two outer sides and sew them together, and it'll cup over your mouth and over your face. So in order to create the death mask or the judgment mask, you have to cut it out of a bow. You have to cut it into a pattern of a bow, cut it down the middle, and then sew it back together, which it also looks like an axe, when you bring it back together like that. And the actual definition of the word bow in Hebrew said he had a bow. The actual definition is the simplest of fabric as well. And what I call a judgment mask. Well, you see, when Christ was crucified, you go and read in the Bible and you'll find out in either Matthew or Mark, I think it was Mark, but it said that they veiled his face. After they judged him, they veiled his face. What did they do also to people when they've been judged to be electrocuted? They veil their face. What did they do when someone shot at the stake? Before that, they veiled their face. What did the fallen angels in the book of Enoch do when they were judged by God? They veiled their face. That is a fact. So when you veil your face, that is death judgment, is what you're accepting and what you're participating in. And once you don that mask and start wearing it, you never see the world again in the way it originally was, because you bought into the grand illusion. the grand lie, the grand deception. You've bought into the lie of the devil. And unless you can somehow snap out of it, because if you're doing this, you probably went and done these, and that's a terrible thing, because what this is the setup for the demise of a lot of people, and it's tied directly to the antenna that they put into people on those cotton swabs. But I'll let you talk some. You took over the whole show. I'm used to talking a lot.
No, we're here to hear you talk. So the more you're talking, the better job I'm doing. So all good there, brother. So a couple things about that. I don't even like to call them masks, because a mask technically would have a breathing hole in and out. You got like a mask, a respirator, even a Halloween mask has got holes in it where you can breathe in and out. These are breathing inhibitors. So there's even a Harvard study. So not talking, say, scriptural, but let's talk, scientifically, even though scientific is, kind of wishy-washy these days with all the rise of the experts.
Some of that science is part of the white horse.
But this science, it comes from a Harvard study that's saying that those breathing inhibitors, when doctors or nurses wear, can only be worn for more than 2 hours because bacteria starts to form on them. So how many people did they make and force to wear these things all day long at a JOB? And did they give them a new one every 2 hours? Were they supplying and saying, hey, this is going to be full with bacteria. This is going to make you sick. If you're not only breathing in your own carbon dioxide, now you've got a bacteria-filled piece of fabric on your face that you're touching. And, so this is not good. And isn't there something scripturally that says that you shouldn't cover your face? I remember one of my friends, that knows scriptures very well, he was saying that there's something in scriptures that says that you shouldn't be covering your face.
Yeah, there's a couple of spots, but one that comes to mind, it says that a woman's hair is her covering, her veil. Okay, woman's hair. And that a man, it refers to a man and says that he should never cover his face. You just don't cover your head. Obviously I have long hair, and there's reasons why I have long hair and a long beard, multiple reasons, I guess you could say, mainly because the hair itself is not just hair. The hair is connected. Every hair is connected to a nerve that's connected to your brain, and your hair is part of what connects you with our world. Okay. They're like antenna, basically, is what they are. And with women that have longer hair, most people, they've heard of what's called women's intuition, when women can sometimes know something's going on that they're not supposed to really know, but they know, and they go and they figure it out, and well, it's a lot of times because the women will have longer hair, and they don't want the men to have long hair. That's why they build into society that men should wear it like this, and this is the way a man's supposed to look. But I'm here to tell you, this is the way a man is supposed to look. This is how God made me, and I'm good with it. And I think that it connects me better. So, Jesse, gotta let it grow out, man.
Well, you'll be proud, because my hair is probably down to here. I just have it back up, so it's out of my face. I learned many years ago that the hair is actually antennas. It's energetic receptors, so it helps with your intuition. It's just part of your being. So I just let it go along. I just keep it kind of back, just to keep it kind of a little bit, tidy. And out of my mouth when I'm driving, it gets in my hair and my mouth. And so I just kind of wear it back on the daily. But, in the evening, I have it nice and long and flowing. So, that's I do have long hair as well there, brother.
Yeah, well, good. And all y'all guys listening out there, I know society tells you that you're supposed to look and act a certain way because you want to fit in, right? Let me tell you something. You do not want to fit into this world. You're in this world, but you do not want to be part of it. You want to separate yourself in as many ways as you can from what is going along to get along kind of thing. Because going along to get along got a lot of people snake bites in their arms. and a lot of peer pressure. What you dressed like that before? Why don't you cut your hair? Things like this. The good thing is though I'm big enough. I'm a big guy, and I'm big enough. Nobody's ever asked me, why don't you cut your hair? I'm like 6'2", 300 pounds, and I'm a big, thick guy. Not all fat. I got a lot of muscle, and nobody ever asked me why don't you cut your hair. They actually did a study back when they were inducting. It was the United States Army when they were inducting Indians into the United States Army. They did a study where they took a certain group of the Indians and they let them keep their natural long hair because Indians had long hair, or at least that's what I think. And the other ones, this other group of the Indians, they shaved their heads like they do everybody when you go in the military. And they studied both groups, and the ones that kept their long hair was able to know when things were going on or when something was up or when they were being moved in on. But the ones that had their heads shaved were clueless, and they lost every single time to the Braves that were put into the military that had their long hair. And another thing to note is that throughout history, if you go and start looking, every time a king conquered a new area, he would make all the men of that city shave their heads. It's one thing is that it creates confusion where nobody knows anybody, because once you shave, if I was to shave my head right here, I wouldn't even remotely look like the same person. You wouldn't recognize me if you see me 5 minutes later. And then also, of course, it dumbs that individual down when you shave their head. It takes away their power in a lot of ways, more than just physical, but it's psychological as well. And they proved that in the Army study back in the 1800s.
Is that why many men think with the wrong brain? When they have their short hair, they're not quite connected to the brain in their head?
I think that certainly is a possibility, yeah, because the less you're connected with our Father, God, Source, Yahweh, whatever it is you all guys call him, okay? I just call him Father, okay, because he's my Father. He's not my father, like my dad, father kind of thing. He is the ultimate Father, and so I just call him Father. Yeah, I think men, if I think of myself, I can't help but notice, looking back, that where my wisdom really started was when I stopped cutting my hair. I stopped cutting my hair about, it would have been in 2008. So what's that, 16 years? Yeah. So 16 years ago, I stopped cutting my hair. In the beginning, it was a rebellion thing because I had always had really tight cut hair. I was a real estate developer. I was the top real estate agent in the state of Idaho for many years. And I wanted to fit in and look normal so everybody would buy a house from me. And it went really well. But these days, I couldn't do it again because you're trapping somebody into paying for something for half of their life just to have shelter over your head. I mean, think about it. We all run out and do it and pay 15 years, 30 years, a lot of times even longer, especially if you rebuy or refi or do any of that kind of stuff. But 30 years to have a place to live, you got to toil that much just to have a place to live? Come on.
Not ever own it, because you need to pay property taxes. If you don't pay your taxes, they can take it away from you at any time. So it isn't even truly yours.
Yep. I asked the lady down at the tax commission one day. I figured she wouldn't know, but she did. I said, we were paying some taxes, and she said, I said to her, these taxes are going to the Queen of England, aren't they? And she looked at me. I said, you can answer. She said, yeah. Yeah. What they call it, retributions, or there's another word for it. Anyways, it's
reparations.
Them getting their cut, that kind of thing. We're paying taxes. We don't never own anything. And if you really think about it, what do we ever own in this life anyways? I mean, what is it that we can truly possess and we can control, and we can decide on its design? We can decide on how much effort we put into building it. And what that is our own tabernacle, our own temple. We get to choose. That's the thing you get to own in this life. It's the one and only true thing you really own. It's yourself. It's your own body. And you are not your body. You are the
soul that resides in it.
You're the high priest of your own temple. You get to decide what goes in the doors or what comes out the doors. You get to decide who you let in or who you don't want in, or what kind of substances do you want in your temple? What do you not want in your temple? How clean do you like to keep your temple? What kind of physical condition do you want your temple in? It's like with me, I'm learning myself as I teach y'all guys. Okay, that's a lot of what I do. Is the Holy Spirit informs me of understanding some things, and I immediately will share them a lot of times, or pretty much all the time. So it's not like I've known this my whole life and I'm this great big wise guy. No, I'm a student and I'm ignorant, and I know it. And so because I know that I'm ignorant is why I'm striving so hard to learn these things. Hello?
Oh, yeah, that was someone was calling me, so sorry for that.
Minute?
No, I'm on a live right now.
We're live, brother.
Sorry, you said sure. Okay, bye.
Hey, you can join us on the show. Why not?
That was Elizabeth Monroy. So she's been on the Missing Link quite a few times, and she's invited me and Angeline to be on her show. So she's in Italy right now.
Okay. Well, you know a lot of people and a lot of different shows out there. If it's shows based on true truth like you are, I'd be willing to do other interviews and stuff. I don't seek them out, but if you happen to know a few or anything, anybody wants me to come on and talk about. I mean, I have a wide group of subjects that I can talk in depth, pretty educated about. So wherever you want to take this interview, we can go.
Do you remember when you first came on to the Missing Link about 3 years ago? You had told me you hadn't done an interview in a long time. And, we had talked quite a bit before you came on our show. So it was, we felt honored that you decided that, you would come on and trust us and come on to our show.
Well, and you know how long it's been again since I've been interviewed by somebody?
I don't know. Was that the last time?
Mm-hmm.
For real?
Yeah, that was the last time. I don't seek them out, and occasionally I get people that contact me and they want me to do this or they want me to do that, but there's some kind of a hook, but we need you to do this or we need you to do that. You ain't asked me to do nothing. You just say, come on here and speak your truth and don't hold back. And don't worry if I don't agree with you on something or if I don't understand. Just speak your truth. And that's the kind of interview I like to do. I don't like no hooks, where you need to do something specifically, or when you've been on YouTube as long as I have, there's ones that'll come to you and try to recruit you as well to join their group and to be part of their thing, and I'm only part of Father's thing, and I have to do what the Holy Spirit leads me to do and nothing else. I don't have time for entertainment. I don't have time for wasting time. I spend my time doing research, doing live shows, doing a lot of editing, making videos, praying, meditating. I meditate a lot, but I don't have any time to play games. But you weren't like that with me. So when you contacted me back, I said, yeah, I'll go talk to Jesse again. Pretty cool.
And I remember you were, wondering if it was going to be live, or you were like, are you going to edit it? Is there any, because you had gotten into a situation where, you would talk to someone and then they edited things to make you look out of context. And I think I know that's why you were concerned about doing an interview, because you had got hoodwinked by someone before that.
Yeah, I got nailed. Yeah. And luckily I have thick enough skin that at this point, especially where, any of that kind of thing comes along, I don't even look at it. Anybody messing with me in any way, calling me names, it's no concern for me at this point. It just doesn't bother me. But yeah, you have to be careful because they'll try to. I mean, there are those that have tried to entrap me. There are those who have tried to get me to fornicate with them. There are those that have tried to persuade me using money or women again. And then also there are those that have tried to pretend to be my friend when what they were trying to do is to set me up to try to make me look like I was saying something I was not. So yeah. I see a lot of my viewers in the chat as well. I appreciate y'all guys watching. If you don't know, this is Jesse. He's from The Missing Link Live. I've done an interview with him a couple of years back, and so I wanted to come back and talk to Jesse again. He contacted me and invited me again, so that's why I'm doing this today, guys. So I appreciate y'all guys from my channels watching as well. And make sure to drop your links, Jesse, too, so that way people know how to find you again. Because I think Jesse is a good man, and he's on his path and his journey to learning, and he's got a lot of knowledge, I can tell. So I'd recommend y'all guys go over and subscribe to his channel as well, because we're on Jesse's show, but the way StreamYard works is you can stream it also to your own channels and things, which is really cool. So now we're live on all of Jesse's platforms, and we're live on Logic Before Authority and the Supernatural Show channels, just on YouTube, because StreamYard don't allow more than 2, which they need to fix, because sometimes there are people like Jesse and me that come together and we've got mega platforms everywhere. So fix that, StreamYard.
And I know Rumble has had some issues. I think maybe that's why you maybe couldn't have got on to Rumble. I know you wanted to get onto Rumble. Angeline said she commented and then they blocked her from commenting on my girlfriend. And then other people have said Rumble's not working. We went from like almost 100 viewers down to like 20. It's back up to 40, and we're seeing some commenters in Rumble again. So maybe Rumble had some issues or whatever, but it's good to see people back on Rumble. So we have about 300 people live with us, right now on our different channels. And we've got 140 from your channel. So, like Daniel said, this is our show that Daniel's a guest on, and he's restreaming to his platform. So if you do get a chance, go to The Missing Link Live on Rumble, The Missing Link Live on YouTube, The Missing Link Live on Facebook, wherever it is you have, and just hit a subscribe. I know you got lots of YouTubers here, so just check out The Missing Link Live and you should be able to find us. We do interviews every day. We do all kinds of interviews, so have an open mind. We interview everybody from A to Z. And if it's just not an interview for you, just move on to the next one and you'll find somebody I'm sure that you are in alignment with. But we're just trying to give a voice to everyone and letting people use their own discernment, whether they feel in alignment with that person or they think that person's a whack-a-nut noodle and, they're not interested in that. But just be respectful of the people that we do have on, because I'm just letting source guide this way. And, however it is that, God wants, to bring the people into my life and to interview them, I just do the best that I can to get the best out of whatever information that they want to share with our people. So that's kind of what we are here on the Missing Link Live.
Someone was asking what my channel information was. I dropped in my comments, the Supernatural Show. Yeah, my channels, they're all over all kinds of different platforms out there. It's called The Supernatural Show. The website is called TheSupernatural.Show. I'm Daniel Alexander Cannon, and I'm sure quite a few of you recognize my voice, because many years I just had my voice and I didn't show my face. But for whatever reasons, I decided to change that and show off all this. So let's talk about something else interesting, Jesse.
Light to dark and dark to light. You talked about the white coats, acting as light with white, but it seems like, as much as, it's hard pill for people to swallow. And I'm sure doctors, had good intentions into getting into it, but they really are pillars of the dark, especially in this crazy injected time, this medicated allopathic medicine time that we're in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is there things in scripture that says something about, woe to those that will turn light to dark or dark to light? I recall.
Well, there's many scriptures that warn you against those who see dark as light, see the truth as a lie, and the lie as a truth. You see, that's such a infection in not only our country, but the world, that it is the method in which they are going to bring down all the nations of the world over a period of time. Like the United States, if we focus on that, they have intentions to take this country down, so there is no more America. In most of your lifetimes that are listening here, assuming we're all here and God doesn't spare us to get out of here earlier or something, assuming we're here, in most of our lifetimes, you will see this country where it does no longer exist as America or the United States. That was a dream, that was a concept, a culture that was built as part of the plan of the English language, okay, of creating the English language. Because like I said, the English language was one of the last languages ever created on this world, and it was created and written to be a spell casting language, the ability for us to talk about the things that they wanted us to talk about around the water cooler kind of conversations and manifest their dreams. Well, their dream was to try all these different cultures. You see, that's like a culture dish. You put a culture in this dish and you put another one over here with a little bit different conditions, and you see which one, what you can learn from each different culture dish. Well, what they did was they used the United States as a culture. Of course, you have the Asian culture, and you have like the Russian, and you have a number of different cultures, right? And over time, and they knew how this was going to go. They knew from the inception, the creation of the United States, that there would come a day, and they already had the date set, that they will bring this nation down on its knees and then cut its head off. And that's coming within the lifetimes of the people that are watching this right now. Most of you are going to witness this take place. And unfortunately, I know what I'm talking about. Unfortunately. And we'll see the day where New York City is tsunamied, along with the DC area, and along with the West Coast around the San Francisco and maybe down to LA. And you say, Daniel, now you're using fear tactics. You're scaring me. No, I'm telling you the truth. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to make you aware that you're living a dream. You're living somebody else's dream. You didn't choose anything about the way this world is going. You just dropped in, go for it, you know, and we do the best we can, and we are doing the best we can, but we didn't choose how all this was going to go. We're just in it, you know, and so it's going to take put it this way. We have this thing that they like to call a selection. An election. No, actually a selection, where they're going to put one of their cousins in charge of the plantation. You see, all this is, the United States is a giant plantation where you think you're free because they've told you you're free, but yet you're not free, because the only way you're truly free is you're not engaged in any way with the beast system. Daniel, what are you talking about? I'm saying that if you have a job and you don't have your own place somewhere where you pay no taxes, you don't have to go do anything with anybody else. You can survive on your own at your location. You've got your own water, you've got your own shelter, you've got your own food, you've got all this self-sustained. If you're not there yet, you're still a slave on this plantation that's called the United States of America. And it's like a plantation where it was going along, and they said, man, the plantation owner said, things are getting really rough. We've got to figure out some way to keep these slaves from rebelling. You know, we beat 5 every day around here, but they still keep wanting to be free. So we've got to somehow convince them that they're free, but yet still while making them work for us. So we get 50% of the sweat off of their brow and then give them 50, and then reach into that 50 that they get and pull out some more of the sweat off their brow and stick it in our pocket too. As a matter of fact, we want all the sweat off their brow that we can get. So we're going to have to convince them that they're free. Well, how can we do that? How can we convince slaves that we've been beating every day that they're now free? Well, all we got to do is tell them that they're free and that they can go anywhere as they want to and they can do anything they want, but they got to be back to work on Monday because they got to make this living. They got to do this job, this involuntary servitude where you have to work for someone else instead of working for yourself and building your own dream. You're building somebody else's dream, and they've suckered us all into it. I've had a job, many of them. I'm just as guilty. I'm a slave too in this system. Yes, I've come out of it quite a ways, but I still have to pay taxes. I still have to do certain things. Thank God I don't have to do it all, and I'm not invested all the way in. I mean, I don't work a job. A job is involuntary servitude. That's what job means, okay? It's when I wouldn't go there and I wouldn't help you, but you're paying me, so I'll go do it. But if you stop paying me, I'm staying home. You know, that's what a job is. It's not freedom. And there's many other things they did, of course, to make us think we're free, but we're not yet.
Do you think there will be a time where, people will be able to, lose the shackles, that this, illusionary freedom, that people will actually maybe be able to take their lives back and become free once again here?
That's a tough one, Jesse. That's a tough one. I'd like to knee-jerk and answer yes. But without the intervention and some kind of a transformation that takes place by God, by our Father, the enemy, the beast system, we've allowed itself and its tentacles all into us in our lives. Most of it we didn't even make the choice on. Our parents did it, and their parents, and their parents. They slowly, it's like how the snake slithers. It's the most subtle of all creatures. He comes upon you real slow. He moves in. Whoop. Don't want him to notice me. I'm going to lay still for a little while. Okay, he ain't paying attention. He's watching cartoons. Oh, let me lay here. Okay, now he's watching a movie. Let me move in a little closer. All right, let me wait because, okay, let me back over a second. Okay, I'm coming. A serpent is really subtle, and that's what they've done is they've moved in around us, and they've got us all wrapped up in their system, you know. And we as a people, we could be free tomorrow. We could be free today. But it would take a large majority. It would take a large number. I don't know if it would even have to be a majority, but it would take a large number, definitely in excess of over 10% of the population.
Some people say 3 to 7%. Some people say only 3 to 7% could elicit that type of change.
3 to 7 would get the ball rolling, but there would have to be some basic, simple agreements. You know, we're going to operate this way. Kind of like when Moses came down with the tablets. You got to have some basic, simple agreements. This is how we're going to operate. This is how we're going to do it. It would have to be simple. It would have to be as simple as the commandments, you know, is how we're going to operate. And we're not going to even talk or consider these other people again unless they want to join with this, you know, because you can't dance with the devil, you know, and expect to come out of it well. You got to keep him out. So we'd have to have all that pushed out, all the beast system. We couldn't even have this, Jesse, this technology, because it's so ripe for abuse. You know, probably the last time this earth seen peace, the kind of peace we're talking about, where people were free, you know, there was no technology. There was no apple or fruit off of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, because the natural inclination of flesh. See, when we come into this world, there's a battle that starts from the instant we're born. And that is the battle between flesh and spirit. And inside, our spirit knows that we shouldn't do this or do that. We know we shouldn't go and fornicate. We know we shouldn't do these other kinds of things that are bad for us. But our flesh wants it. So our flesh will battle us for it, because our flesh is animalistic. It's like a beast, you know. But you have to learn how to control that beast. You have to cleanse your temple. Get all the trash out of your temple. And I'm going through this whole thing in my own life myself. Getting all the trash out of the temple. Take charge as the high priest in your temple. And so that you're in control now of what goes in, comes out, and what it is you do with the manifestors you have, like your hands, your mouth, and other things that you can manifest with, including your mind. And but that's a very difficult thing to predict. I would love to think that it's possible, Jesse, but the beast is ingrained hard, like China, for instance. I used to think many years ago, the Chinese people were highly intelligent, and maybe they are. And I used to kind of think they were very interesting. But one thing that I've learned in the last years is that they've got them so enslaved, it's insane. I mean, they can't leave their city without a pass to go to another city. They've got this 15-minute city thing going on over there, full blown now. And they want that here. They're already working on it here. They're burning people out of areas that they don't want them in. They're getting rid of them one way or another. They're using what they call invisible enemies. Well, that's what Trump called it. Invisible enemies. Uh-oh, I done made some of your listeners mad. I said something bad about Trump. I'm sorry. But the invisible enemies, invisible weapons is what they're using against us. And they're using our own approval. They want us to agree to destroy ourselves. They want us to agree to destroy the nation. They actually need our help and participation in pulling all this off. I mean, we're going around, literally people are building their own prison. Like that wall down there in Mexico. People think that's to block anybody from getting in. It works both ways. And the way it's intended to work, when it's going to work, is it's going to block Americans from getting out. Well, why would Americans want to get out of America? We're the greatest country in the world. Because of what's going to come upon Babylon. And that's what America is. America is the greatest, most powerful nation in the world. And it's about to fall. If you've got eyes to see and ears to hear and any ability to discern, you can see when you go outside and look. You go to the grocery store. You go around looking for a bank. You go and you look, just look at the people. You can see we're a nation in decline. Can you not see that, Jesse?
Yeah, like, I think America, was maybe great. I don't know, I think maybe a lot of it was an illusion, the illusionary, the American dream. But I think it's the last stand, to this New World Order tyranny, because there's a lot of people that, take that illusionary freedom and feel that that freedom is real and that will defend it. They've really dumbed people down with, obviously the TVs and the radios and the computers, the frequencies, the chemicals, a lot of hormonal imbalances, going on within people because of all the pesticides and preservatives and all the estrogen that they put into can linings. So they're making fluoride, making people docile and not, wanting to stand up to this tyranny. But the reason I think why you're saying is that wall is to keep people in, because they have to take out, the patriots, the last standing people that will die for their freedom in order for their full-blown New World Order tyranny to, come to fruition. They can't have anybody. And I think that's what they're doing is biodigital convergence, is where they're amalgamating people. There's these suits that you're talking about, and they're digitally uploading them into the mainframe. They got people hooked onto their phones. They got people hooked onto their computers. Now they're putting these operating systems into them with these injections. And so once they have it where they can turn people off, if for anybody speaking out or, opposing or challenging, a threat to them, just like the electric cars that they want people to have, that if you don't obey, their rule, they can turn that off at any time. Well, what if they had you in a place where they could turn you off at any time? Would people be willing to stand up, to speak out, to do the things that we're doing here, Daniel, if they could turn you off at any time? I still would, because, I'm here not on my will, I'm here on God's will. Like, this is God's will for me to do this. And if I get turned off, I get turned off. On to the next. I'm not afraid to die. And I think that one of the reasons why they have people, so submissive is because they made people so afraid to die that they're so scared to truly be free and live.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't realize, see, your whole life you've been told that death is the ultimate terrible thing. It's awful. It's just, death is birth. Just like a butterfly goes through different transition stages before he becomes a butterfly. You have a butterfly and he goes through the stage of a fertilized egg. He goes through the stage of like a grub, and then he becomes a caterpillar, and then he transitions again into a butterfly. It's very similar to how our life works. you know, God wouldn't send us through all this peril. At least my Father wouldn't send us through all this peril and all this temptation and us figure it out and reject it and then just die and it's just a bad thing. No, death is a transition into a better existence, you might say. I don't know exactly what that existence is, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be better. I wanted to say something too about how people can take their power back. See, what it is that, and this is something I'm learning myself on right now. I'm going through the processes of understanding it. And that is the power of the image of God. See, God put us, he made us in his image, and he also made the world in his image, and he made a lot of things. His image is all over us. And just like the image of the two cherubims with the spinning storm, if you look up any kind of a picture of the tabernacle, you'll see a lot of times there's a spinning, looks like a tornado coming out and going down into it. You know, the storm thing, the storm idea thing. But God made us in his image. He didn't just make us in his image in flesh. Let me give you some good news. You're in his image in power. Just like Jesus Christ said, they will do the things I have done and greater things. And he's talking about you. And he's talking about me. But we have to find the faith to realize that we stand in the image of God, not only in physical appearance, but in authority in this world. We are co-heirs in his authority. Meaning with faith. Let me just give you a couple of examples, Jesse. I might even tell you something that I've never told before. This might be a good opportunity and platform for it. And some people, I know what you're going to think, and I know what you're going to say, and I don't care because this is my truth. Okay? About, talking about authority and some of the things that are related to it. About 7 years ago, I was sitting on the back porch of a house right behind this one. Actually, it was a double. This is a little house. That's a double wide trailer. I was sitting on the porch of it. I was living back there about 7 years ago. And I'm sitting on the porch, and this thunderstorm came up. And it was a good one. I mean, with lightning bolts striking pretty close and stuff, where you can hear the plasma, like that kind of thing. So I'm sitting on the porch, and I have my phone. I didn't have video recording. I was just recording the audio of the storm. And I had it laid there, and I would lean over, and I'd say stuff like, well, it's getting pretty rough now. Man, that was a close one. Wow, this is amazing. See, because what I was doing by sitting out in the storm is refusing to be afraid and realize that my life is in the control of Father, and that Father's in control of everything, even lightning bolts. Okay? So I'm not going to be afraid of lightning. I'm going to fight things that I see as fear. I'm going to fight them. So what do? Well, one of these things I fight is fear of natural things that could happen. Oh, I could go out there and a snake could bite me. Oh, I could go out there and this could happen. Oh, I could go out there. Father in my life's already shown me that my life is in his hands. And then when I've tried to kill myself before, he pulls me out and says, no, not today. I'm going down the road. But I'm sitting on the porch. Lightning is popping around and stuff. And I leaned over my mic, and it had lightning had kind of calmed down for a second. And I leaned over my mic and I said, well, it's gotten kind of calm, but I'm expecting. And when I said, but I'm expecting, I was literally expecting
a lightning bolt. And what happened? Well, I was looking out across the yard and on the ground. It was about 30 foot in front of me. And I was staring with intent at that spot on the ground, Jesse. And I said, it's gotten kind of quiet, but I'm expecting. And a ball of plasma came out of the ground. Wow! And a lightning bolt. Exactly the moment I spoke, I'm expecting. Wow! It's like that. And I was like, holy moly. And no, I didn't understand what was happening yet because there's more to the story. So a week later, I was over at my brother's house and I was sitting in his living room. And I'm sitting here in his chair and he's sitting right here to the left of me in front. And right behind him was a window where I could see outside. And there was a lightning storm that came up. And I was telling, lightning storm, what happened to me a week ago, I was telling my brother about it. And I was leaning over and I was repeating what happened. I was telling my brother, the lightning was kind of like this and blah, blah, blah. And I was telling him that I leaned over. And when I did it, I looked out the window out on the ground like I was demonstrating what I had done. And I looked out the window on the ground and I explained to him what happened. And then I said, and I'm expecting. And when I said it this time again, Jesse, a lightning bolt struck on the ground right where I was looking at. Pow! Again. So I didn't know what to think about this because I didn't understand as well as I understand now authority, being in the image, the true image of our Father, and having true faith. At that time in my life, I was a man of faith, like I am now, but I had a little less knowledge. And over time, with additional events that have happened, okay, I've come to understand a bit more about authority that's tied directly to faith. Another example I can give you that I don't talk about, I don't think I've ever spoken about it either, is faith and healing. When I was a child, I used to hear, everybody heard about and seen these fake preachers on television and different things where they'd have people come up on the stage in wheelchairs and, and they'd get up and dance and run around and off stage get a paycheck. Everybody's seen that kind of stuff. And so it really turned me against it a lot, the thought of healing via the Holy Spirit, but over my whole life, with all the things that's happened and everything, I used to hear rumor about my father that there was something that he would do with people, and that is if they got burnt, he could help them with the pain and stop the burning and such if somebody had a bad burn, And so I there come a time in my faith where I had enough faith to believe that Father was there, and that if I truly had faith and believed and projected love as the emotion, because our emotions are powers, you could call our emotions superpowers, okay? Because our emotions, once controlled, are superpowers. We've been trained not to control emotions at all, to even play with them like they're a game by going and watching scary movies and stuff like this. But there come a time when I had the faith within myself to know that I was connected with Father, to know that he was telling me through the Holy Spirit. Sometimes he would incline me to pray for somebody and to lay my hands upon them or either close to them. And well up love within my body into an emotional storm. Just keep welling that up. I have also the ability to kind of like cause adrenaline to flow into my system. And when I'm welling up all this emotion and doing that and projecting love into this person and seeing in my mind what it is that's wrong with them, I started running into people where I was inclined. Doesn't happen all the time. It's, you might say, somewhat rare, where I'll be inclined, go and pray for this person. And I started doing that. The first one I ever kind of did was someone had a burn, a bad burn from a grease off of the stove. And I happened to be there, and amazingly enough, thank God, because all the credit goes to Father, is that I was able to I didn't even have to touch, but pray with my hands close and project love and see the heat leaving that person in my mind. And I could feel the heat leaving them in my hands. I could feel it radiating into my hands. And that was the first time. And there's been quite a few. I'll give you a really interesting story of where I met a lady that she was an older lady, and she had a spot on her face right here. And she had a spot on the back of her left leg about 4 inches above the ankle on the back of the leg. And it was a sore that would not heal. And the doctor had told her it was cancerous. And that this on her face was melanoma and it was cancerous. And that it was going to, they were going to have to operate and remove it. And same thing with down here and try to get it to heal properly. And so she told me about it and everything. And I asked her one simple question. This is all the faith that's required. I said, do you believe in Father in heaven? Do you believe you have a creator? She said, yes. I said, hallelujah. That's enough faith. And I said, can I pray for you? She said, yes. And I actually made a little small mistake with the way that I did this, and I learned a lesson from it, but I'll save that to last. But I did my thing where I well up love within my heart, and I well it up until I'm literally tears pouring from my eyes. And I place my hands upon the person or right near them upon whatever it is that's wrong. And in my mind, I'm asking, Father, you promised, you said I could do this. You promised, Father. And my hands close to them, and I see in my mind this being perfect, this going away and it being perfect, and the thing on the back of her leg going away and it being perfect, back the way God made her. Because God didn't intend for us to have these things going wrong with us. He intended for us to be perfect beings. So I prayed for her and parted. And about a week and a half later, I seen her again, and she come running up to me. I was in a Walmart. She come running up to me, and she said, she started crying. She started crying, and she said, they're gone, Daniel. I said, I know they're gone. She says, how do you know? I said, because it's on the back of my leg. I wasn't grounded. I didn't go out. I should have been standing on holy ground. When you pray for somebody, you need to be barefoot and you need to be standing on the earth on holy ground. And all our ground is holy, but you need to be barefoot. This is why Moses was instructed to remove his shoes, because you're standing on holy ground. It wasn't nothing specifically special about that exact spot. It was just that the fact that when you're going to do the things that Moses had to do, manifesting through God, you need to be barefoot. You need to have the soles of your feet on the earth. And you don't need this rubber insulator that most of us walk around on all the time, separating us. electrically from the earth. We're supposed to be barefooted. But anyways, I prayed again and for it to come off of my leg. What happened was the cancer that was on the back of her leg left her leg and was on the exact same spot on the back of mine. And her face, it completely cleared up in 1 week and healed up. And the back of her leg was completely healed. She showed it to me. And I knew I'd be able to get rid of that. You know, it surprised me for it to do that kind of thing, because it's really strange, you know. But, you know, she was healed. So we're talking about authority here, you know. And I could give you a number of other stories and stuff, and I'm not trying to say I'm anything special. I'm just trying to say I'm you. See,
Everybody has that in them.
Yeah,
Yeshua learned what he taught was the disciples that they could do everything he could do and more. So if he could go and help and heal people, so could they. And that was the whole mission of him, is teaching that it's not him, it's all through the Father. Everybody has that inside of them. And we've been taught that we're insignificant, that we don't have that, we shouldn't have these powers, we're not allowed to use these things, that this is New Age or the devil and all this. But why wouldn't you want to try to help someone or heal someone if you could, you know, and think that it's wrong in any way to help someone? I think that that's where the deception comes in, and they're trying to teach people that we're insignificant, we don't have these powers. And all we have to do is remember that we are connected to Source, Father, Creator, and that you have the kingdom of heaven within you, and that you do have these powers that he's instilled in each and every single one of us.
Yes, exactly. It's all there. It comes through faith. It comes through expecting. I expect, meaning this is going to happen. You know, this is where the tales of all kinds of amazing things in the Bible come from. You know, even the words of like, you can move mountains and all these kinds of things. You know, I have no reason to want to move a mountain, because these things that we would want to do, they have to be righteous and justice and for a right reason. I don't have a mountain to move, and you probably don't either. But the point is that it is all about faith. Just like when Christ was standing in the boat during the storm, and everybody else was cowering in the bottom of the boat, and it was all about faith, you know, knowing that you're connected with Father. I'll give you one more little example of authority and faith and how it works. I have told this story publicly before, and that is, and this is absolutely another absolute true story. And so far as the faith healings, I've got people I could bring right now that could testify about those kind of things, because they've experienced getting burned, getting bit by in certain kinds of bad insects, and all those things can be stopped through your authority that you have, through your faith, and you're expecting. There was a time when I was in Boise, Idaho, and Jesse, I was already in this work. I was already in my ministry. Somewhat early, but I was rebelling against the judicial system, and even for something as simple as a parking ticket or a speeding ticket or anything, I wouldn't respond to them. I won't show up to their courts. I don't submit myself to them. They have no authority over me. Okay, that was my attitude, and I figured Father will back me up on it. So I'm sitting in this restaurant that I happen to know the owner of the restaurant, and I know the guy that's running the band, and it's a nice little restaurant, and it's got the restaurant's in the shape of an L, you know, like a dog leg. And in one end of the L, there's pool tables. In the other end of the L is a dining area, and in the middle corner of the L is a bar. You know, people sitting around having a beer and such. And I went in there knowing I had a warrant, you know, and the owner of the restaurant knew about my situation. He knew what I did for work. I work for Father. And I had prayed to Father that if anyone were to come against me, and I would advise any and all of you to pray this prayer, I would say, Father, I'm going out in the public today. I'm going to be in a place that's going to have a lot of people, and there may be someone that will try to come against me or call the cops against me, but Father, I pray that you will make me invisible. That if they come against me, you'll make me invisible so that they cannot see me, and they may be misdirected in a different direction. I prayed those prayers. I still pray those prayers anytime I go anywhere. So I was sitting in the restaurant. I was sitting at the bar. I was having a beer. And there was a couple people sitting around there. And there was a lady who sat down beside me. And this was kind of like the corner of the bar right here. And there was a man sitting over here. And then the lady, then me. And there was a couple other people down here. To the left of me were the pool tables on the one end of the L. Behind me was the band. And behind them was the dining area. Okay, I'm sitting here. Right here, there's a door, front door of the restaurant. Down by the pool tables, there's another door, an exit down there. Back here in the dining area behind the band, there's another door on this side that goes out into the back parking lot, just like the door by the pool tables goes into the back parking lot. Quite a few cars parked out there, customers and stuff, and most of the customers were parked back there. There were a few parking spots up in the front of the restaurant and around the one side right here. And the way it was set up is that we were on a main road right here on the front, and then there was a street that went down behind the building and behind the bar where I was sitting looking at the bar. Behind that wall, there was some parking spots and a street that went down that way, a block. And all right, so I'm sitting there and we're all talking, and I talking to some of this lady sitting here, not in a flirtatious way or anything like that. I was just talking, kind of what we're doing. And no matter if you meet me in public or if you meet me on my show, I'm the same dude. I don't have a different way of doing things in life. I'm me all the time. I'm me. I'm this. This is what I think about. This is what I talk about. This kind of stuff is just me. So I'm sitting here being me, and come to find out, she recognized my voice. And she was the wife of a man that used to be married to my roommate that I was currently living with. So she knew me through her husband's ex-wife that was my roommate that I was living with. And for whatever reason, she didn't like me. So she was sitting there talking to me. She said, "Excuse me for a minute." She got up and went over there somewhere and called the law. Said, "He's here. He's got a warrant, don't he? He's here. He's sitting at the bar, blah, blah, blah." And I've got long hair. I didn't have as much beard. And I had still halfway down my back, long hair. I'm sitting there. She comes and sits back down. A few minutes later, I'm sitting there, and I hear this, Jesse. This is what I hear. "Get up and walk out now." That's what I hear. In my head, I hear, "Get up and walk out now." And of course, this wasn't my thoughts. This wasn't my voice. And so I immediately, don't even hesitate, I turn and look over my left shoulder like that. That's where the front door is at. There's two robo-cops coming in the front door in robo mode. Boom, boom, boom. You know how they got that authority written all over them and got all that symbolism. They're walking a certain way. "I'm bad. Get out of my way, boys." You know, they come in robo mode, robo-cop mode. Two of them coming in this door. I turned and looked at the back door. Two of them coming in that door. I said, uh-oh. So I immediately, this all goes down in about a second. I immediately rotated, stood up, and started walking right straight at the cops as they were standing in front of the door. And they took a couple of steps forward, and I walked right beside them, walked right out the door by them. Now, as I was going out, I glanced over and looked at the other door behind the dining area, and there was 2 cops coming in. So there were 6 cops coming in the building to get me. And I seemed to stand out because I'm, again, 6'2", 300 pounds, and got long hair and ugly. So I just walked right out, walked right by them. I didn't make eye contact with them. I can't tell you if they made eye contact or looked at me, because I heard "get up and walk out now" in the Holy Spirit. It spoke to me, and I listened, and I got up and walked out now. When I come out the door, I turned to the left, and I started coming around to the corner of the building right here on the back side of the bar where I'm was sitting. And when I turned that corner, there were like a half a dozen cop cars parked there. I was like, oh, Lord, they done sent the SWAT team for me. And because, I have a history of them not being able to find me. Thank God. So I walked by the cop cars, and right as I start walking by the cop cars, it starts coming to me what's happening here, that my prayer to be made invisible has been answered. And I say, hallelujah. And I start laughing. I just started laughing. I was laughing loud. And as I walked down behind the side of the building here, going down that road on the sidewalk, where I could see the back parking lot, there were a half a dozen cops in the back parking lot looking under the cars with flashlights and looking in the windows. And I'm still laughing. At the top of my voice, I'm just laughing. And I just keep right on walking. Walk right on away. They didn't hear me. They couldn't see me. Hallelujah. God answered my prayers, made me invisible. No one in the whole restaurant seen me leave the building. I went back. I walked around the block, went around to a McDonald's. And I called my friend, my roommate, and she came and got me. And while I was waiting on her, I called my friend that was running the band, and I said, hey, buddy, I said, were they there for me? Yep. I said, okay. I said, will you grab my bag? Because my laptop bag and stuff was at his table. He said, oh, yeah, I'll grab it for you. He said, man, where did you go? I said, I just got up and walked out. And he said, nobody's seen you go nowhere. Even the people that were sitting with you just said you just like vanished. You just gone. And I said, at that moment, I was still collecting my thoughts about all this. This was pretty wild for me, for Father to demonstrate that level of authority and power to me at that moment. It was taking a little bit to come, for me to understand what all just happened. I said, yeah. I told him I had prayed for it, Anyways, my friend came and picked me up, swung by the band member's guy's house, grabbed my stuff and everything. We all talked about it. He said, the girl that was sitting there, the one that called the cops on me, the owner of the restaurant found out she admitted doing it. He banned her and her entire family, anyone related to her, he banned them for life. He said, anyone comes in here that's related to you in any way or even your friend, and we're going to kick them out. So he banned her for life and her family and friends. And so, yeah, that's just a true story. I mean, it's not a story. It happened. It's truth. This is the kind of authority that Father has been teaching me, that we have the ability to do these kinds of things. Oh, he's saying he's a superhero. No, I'm not. I'm saying that we all have the ability to be in the image of God, which includes his authority. No, you can't just say, well, Daniel, make yourself disappear right now. And that would be stupid, wouldn't it? For me to do something like that. I have no inclination. There's no reason. It would be, what I would be doing is playing with God. And I ain't going to do that. You see, it's when it really counts is when your faith needs to be there and you have these authorities. Let me show you something real quick, Jesse.
Sounds good. And I have a few stories. I'll make them quick about stuff that you said where I've had similar experiences.
So you see this?
Yeah, my friend made me one, and that's copper that goes around and it grounds. It's a grounding rod. So when you touch the ground with your hand, it's touching your hand on the ground. So you can walk with your rubber shoes, which disconnect you from the ground, but you can still ground because that copper brings the energy from the earth into your hand.
Yeah, that is exactly right. And of course, it's also a staff. This particular one is made out of ironwood. It's the hardest wood on the planet known to man. It's called ironwood, and so this is my rod of iron. You know, and if any situation's going on that concerns me at all, this will be in my hand. Even if it's a thunderstorm coming up, I'll put this in my hand, and this gives me additional. What it is symbolic for being obedient and walking the right way, and so it just gives you additional level of faith that you've got your staff as a man, and you have the authority that you are the authority in this property in this area, and that you are directly connected with our Father in heaven, and nothing goes down here that I don't want to go down here, because I will invoke the power of the Holy Spirit and protect or do whatever it is necessary. And I believe that we all have the ability to do such things. It's just we've been told since we were a child we have nothing. And it's not true, Jesse. I've experienced it too much in my life. I'm a walking example of a dead man. If it weren't for the intervention of Father, I'm a man that's seen in my lifetime, and I probably told you this last time, Jesse, but that I see angels, that they come to me. They're bright white and round all about. Most people think they're UFOs and they're aliens and all this other nonsense and deception. You know, the ones that NASA likes to talk about stuff. It's just, of course, NASA means, in Hebrew, it means to beguile, to deceive. And that's what they're doing to the whole world, is deceiving them in every way possible. You know, but we all have these capabilities. We all have the authority of God within our image, that we are in His image. It's just, and it's a path. It wasn't for me. It wasn't like turning on a switch. This is a journey, and I'm on my journey. And y'all guys need to make sure you're on your journey. Start trying to not be afraid of things. For one thing, fear is the biggest.
Fear is the devil.
Yeah, exactly. Fear is the devil, and it's the worst thing that will handicap you in your life if you're afraid of things. Find something you're afraid of, and it's whatever you're afraid of the most is probably the easiest for you to defeat.
So I've had a few situations like, you have. I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned that when we interviewed, but I'll run through a few of them that went through my mind while you were telling your story. So I had met this girl that was trying to be pimped out by these gangsters, and I was protecting her. They came in, they kicked in the door. I ended up jumping up, don't talk to her like that, and got into a fight with this gang, and I got stabbed 12 times. And they ended up leaving out the door. I sat on the couch and I looked over at her and I said, I need to get to the hospital, right? A bottle was smashed over my head and stabbed 12 times, right? I had to get a whole bunch of stitches in my head. And I looked at her and I said, I need to get to the hospital. And she's like, yeah, just don't bring the police here, okay? I was like, I looked at her like, what? I'm like I would even be thinking, I just met this girl and I felt God wanted me to protect her. So I was there, in this situation. So I walk up, I go up the stairs, I get to the top, I open up the glass doors to the apartment building because it was a basement suite. And then everything went white like a light. I couldn't see anything. And I kept on going. I fell down the stairs the other side because I couldn't see the stairs. And then I hit the ground and everything went pitch black. dark and I couldn't see anything. And then all of a sudden I started to feel a little bit of afraid. And then I heard this voice go, "Get up or you're gonna die, Jesse." It was like this voice, this commanding voice, like I had never heard. I was like, whoa. So it was like, direct creation, God, whoever, angels, whatever it was that spoke
Get
to
up,
me,
walk out now.
I was spoken to. And I'll
Mm.
never forget that. I got angel bumps all over my body just thinking about it. So I get up, I start seeing things. I could hear her start crying. She's at the glass doors. I guess apparently she didn't want to get locked out. She wasn't worried about me bleeding on the ground, picking me up. And I started walking, and then I could hear her crying. And she goes, "Okay, she's like, Jesse, just don't bring the police." Or no, no. I tell myself as I'm walking, I want to say I love you to one last person, just in case I go to the next, because it was his situation as I'm walking. So I turn around and I go, "I love you, Kim." She's like, "I love you too. Just don't bring the police here, Kate." As she's holding the glass doors, she's not even coming with me. This was like, 25, 30 years ago, pre-cell phones. And we actually even didn't have a house phone at this suite. I had just gotten it to try to get her away from these bad people and all these kind of things, right? It was just kind of a real quick, so I only knew her a couple weeks. And then as I'm walking, I see this car comes up and they see me, blood's head to toe, and I try to wave them to try to get help, and they just sped off. It was what, 2 or 3 a.m. So it was in the middle of the night, and I get to the store, and all along, but a hospital comes, and I mean, an ambulance comes, and I get to the hospital, and they were sticking their finger into each one of my stab wounds because I had lost so much blood. The doctor had to make sure nothing was broken off as they stitched me up, because they had to stitch me up quick and try to, to save my life. And then I saw my lifeless body on the table as I floated away. That's what I feel. I could see myself get smaller and smaller and smaller as all these doctors and nurses were around me. So, that's just one story of how you said that you were spoken to. I got spoken to at that time. Another time back when because I had gotten kicked out of my house at an early age, kind of got adopted in the streets by some rough and tough people, learning how to take care of myself, protect myself, not get bullied anymore. So I was kind of roughy and getting into lots of fights and things. And at one time I was like, the gang unit was looking for me. They didn't know who I was because I had, helped somebody that was getting somebody stole something from her. I saw the guy rifling through her purse, so I kind of heard him, and they were looking for me for that. And they came into this. So I was hanging with lots of Orientals, and came into this Oriental pool hall, and they were looking for me and asking everybody for ID and asking who, if they could, for me, like they were looking for me if you knew who this guy was. They came up to the ping pong table that we were playing at, and all of a sudden I could see them asking for IDs for everybody, and I go to the one guy. I'm like, "Hey, do you play?" And he's like, "Sure." So I'm playing ping pong with this one police officer as the other one's going around asking everybody for IDs, asking about me as I'm playing ping pong with this guy, and then they just left, right? So I was like, I couldn't believe that it was like I was invisible. It was like, even though I was playing with them, they were looking for me. They didn't end up getting me at that time.
Father misdirected them for you.
Yeah, it was so crazy. And then the other part about the healing. So, Angeline, my beautiful girlfriend, she's a healer. Like, she's had so much happen to her in her life, and she's learned source, creator, the other side, her healing gifts. And when we first started dating, and I had a lot of hip pain, a lot of pain going on in my body. And she was in a different city from 3 hours away. She's like, "Well, let me just look in on you." And she could feel me from 3 hours away in a different city. And then she just starts sending me healing to different parts of my body. And I'm like painting a house. And at the end of like, I was just so much pain. And I didn't even, she's sending me this healing. I'm driving and I get to my house and I like get out of the car and I'm like, I'm not in any more pain. I was like, what the heck? It's like, this stuff is real, right? And they try to make people think, oh, that's new age. You shouldn't be doing that. Don't touch it. But they don't want people to know their true power that resides in. We're created in God's image. God is amazing. How could you not be amazing? And how could you feel that you're so insignificant because some church wants to tell you that?
Yep. 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 God is absolutely amazing. The things that I'm pretty hard headed, apparently. He's had to really prove himself, with me. I remember one time I was, we got time for me telling that little story?
Oh, yeah.
It's all I can tell you is every word I'm going to speak is truth. And I've told this story before, so a few people might have heard it. This was about 10 years ago. And I was on my path, but I was still very young in a lot of understandings and things, but neither here nor there. I was driving home one night. It was kind of late, come back from a friend's house, and I was driving a truck, and it's on a 2-lane highway, and out down here in the South, they'll have bridges, but a lot of times they're flat bridges because you're just going over a swampy area. So I was coming up to a flat bridge, and just a country 2-lane road, and I fell asleep and went off the right side of the road before I got to the bridge. And I was so far off the road that when I got closer to the bridge, there was a light pole there, but right before the bridge. When I was so far off the road that my mirror on my left side of the truck here, I'm driving along, the mirror on the left side of the truck, I'm so far off the road, it smacked the driver's mirror off the truck. And when it hit it, that's when it woke me up. And I realized, and of course, I've seen everything. Everything goes into slow motion. I mean, it's like, and I see the bridge to the left. I see the swamp in front of me that I'm going into. And then everything goes black. And what seemed like a millisecond or whatever later, who knows, I feel the truck drop out of the air and the tires hit the road. And I'm driving straight on the road again. I'm like, oh my God, what just happened? And I go down there and I turn around, I come back up and I park there and I get out and look, and you can see my tire tracks going into the off the side of the road, and the smashed mirror laying there. But I never went into the swamp. I was supernaturally picked up and brought out of and put back on the highway again. And I felt the truck drop back on the highway. Boom. And I just kept right on getting it. And yeah, I mean, I didn't even get the tires dirty on the truck, Jesse. And this is absolute truth. Everything I've told you today is absolute truth. And these things, I know someone's hard to believe, especially if nothing like this has ever happened to you. But I'm telling you, it's there. Whether you want to reach out, think maybe he's telling the truth a little bit. Maybe you need to reach out for it and think about it and pray about it. Try to grasp some of this, because that's what I'm giving it to you for. I'm not here for entertainment purposes. I'm not here as a guest to entertain y'all guys. I'm here to tell you the truth about various things. And one of them is that God is there with you now. He's here with me now. He's with Jesse now. And we are in his hands. And yes, sometimes when you're a father and you have children and they need to learn lessons, you'll let them do dumb things sometimes to learn a lesson. And Father will let us do that sometimes. But sometimes, like when my case, I'm running off the side of the road, going to go nose down into a swamp that probably would have injured me badly, destroyed the truck, like other fathers have done. You see your child, they're going to fall. Okay, they're just going to fall. Oh, no, they're going to hit their head. You'll reach out, you'll grab them by the arm, and you'll pull them back and save them. And our Father in heaven does the same thing. It's just in more of a supernatural way, And yeah, so that's another true story that happened to me. And as far as car wrecks and stuff, I probably got about 6 of them that I should have, at a minimum, got hurt. But I've never. I got in one wreck at 140 miles an hour, end over end, hit 3 pine trees, and I didn't get a scratch. And the car was just demolished. And I wasn't driving. I was in the back seat of the car, and there was no interior in the car. It had all been taken out, and they had just replaced the motor. It was an old Camaro that they had souped up, and we were being idiots when I was 17 years old racing, and we were doing 140 and went around this curve and ran off the curve, flipped end over end, hit like 3 or 4 pine trees. They all went to the hospital. I didn't get a scratch. Nobody got hurt real bad, but like dislocated shoulder, broke something, broke finger, broke wrist, different things like that. But I didn't even get a scratch. And I seen that slow motion thing again when we went off the road right before we stove the front end of the car. I seen everything go womp into slow motion again. So there's that element that some of you can probably relate to out there that are listening. And if you've ever experienced that slow motion, it's God supernaturally reaching in and slowing down what's taking place in order for him to correct whatever's going down. You might say, if it's his will, because we all know that some people go out there and get in wrecks and die every day. And I can't explain Father's will as to why some people die that day and others are scratch free like I have. Or, we're all trained in little different ways. There's no way to figure out everything and understand everything about God. I just know he's there. I know that we're in his image. I know I've tried to explain a little bit about his image, and I know that he loves us, and I know that he allows us to be free, truly free to make our own decisions, which is what the devil uses against us because he knows God gave us that freedom. But the devil uses that freedom that we are given to choose against us. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And you have, great things that you've had to do is why, God had to stop that from happening to you. You knew that all the good things and the people that lives you were going to touch and things like that. And we do have that free will, but there is always God, source, creator, angels have our back. They're out there. They're, listening. And for, they've taught people, oh, you shouldn't meditate, but why shouldn't you quiet your mind? Why shouldn't you try to listen to, the messages that God, creator, source is trying to tell you? Why don't you try to listen? I think those are some of the most important things you can do is try to get out of your head space and into your heart space. And a lot of people, because they've been able to keep people in their head space, that's how they've programmed people. That's where the spell goes, because you got to get back to your intuitive mind. And a lot of people have done that through meditation, and you're not going to get some dark spirit take over your body by quieting your mind. Like, these are just fear tactics to stop you from doing the things you should be doing.
Meditation, it says to meditate in the Bible, even. The word's used many times. It says it's a proper practice. And it's mainly, like you said, about listening. What I'll do is I'll bring up a subject in my mind that I'm trying to understand, trying to discern. I'll bring it up, kind of roll it around in my mind, and then I just listen. And it's one of the times that I get the most information, the most answers. Sometimes it'll be just, look this up. I'll go, oh, look this up. Okay. I can pull up, or look it up there with them. Oh, there's my answer. Or it'll say, it'll just give me an answer, or it'll give me a hint. It's, because it's like, how can you teach somebody something by giving them everything at once? You can't. You got to make them work for it. And that's what Father does to us. He's going to make us work for it. And that's why we get it a little bit at a time, so that we're true students, pupils in the eye, which is where we are and what we are, pupils.
I like what Jehovah's daughter Barbara says. They rewrote the Bible saying the heart is wicked when it's the blasted ego that is not the heart. The heart's not wicked. You know, that is so wrong. The heart is pure. The heart's beautiful. When, you know,
Mhm.
creation, when you have a child that comes out, they're beautiful, they're perfect, right? It's the ways of the world. They say that children are geniuses until they're 5, 6, 7 years old, and it's the world that takes them away from that pure innocence and curiosity and just love for life, and then instill the fears and the programming and all these things that comes from the world. That's no, you're not born wicked. You know, it's just people are traumatized and then programmed into what they become.
Yeah. You know, the flesh, you know, we're born into these flesh bodies, and these flesh bodies will, it doesn't take much to tempt these flesh bodies into doing or wanting things that are not good for us. But yeah, when we're a child, when you come in innocent and everything, it's the world that pollutes that spirit. And that's what their intention is from the very beginning. That's why they want, you know, how in all of our videos that we upload, Jesse, it says, is this for children or not? You know, I'd ask that. And because if it's for children, uh, let's just put it like they want to control what's for children for real. They really don't want guys like me or Jesse talking to children, you know, because, you know, we're the bad guys, according to them. They want to control the children's minds as much as possible because that they're the easiest to manipulate, to program, because they're innocent. They don't know that there's such a thing as a lie until they're taught how to lie, you know.
So how you feeling?
Good. We're about 2 hours in, so I think I'm gonna have to probably get on out here in just a minute. But if there's any questions, maybe anybody has any questions in the comments or anything else that you want to ask me, I normally go for about 2 hours. I could be about ready for a break.
Yeah, we usually do a 2-hour show, so this is round perfect timing. So, right now you have, in your audience 127 on your YouTube and 14 on your Supernatural show, so almost 150. If you could maybe ask them and get your moderators to put our link into the YouTube link into the chat, get them to come over, subscribe, and hit the like. So that way people can see that, you know, that people have watched it on ours, and just kind of boost up to know that, you know, that many people have, you know, watched you, and it's more likely people come and actually go to your channel, you know, seeing all the likes. And we always welcome the new subscribers if people like, you know, enjoy people being interviewed.
Yeah, guys, if you would do that, what he was just asking you to do, if you're a moderator, and I know there's several of you in here, if you would look up real quick, you can find it really easy, the missing link live, and you can look it up just here on Facebook and share that link, you know, in the comments. I'd greatly appreciate it. And also, you know, hit the like button. No matter where you're watching this from, hit the like button and share this. What in this conversation is not something you should share with your best friend or your enemy? There's nothing here in what me and Jesse have talked about other than truth today, you know, and I'm proud of the words that Jesse and I have spoken today. I believe Father in heaven would be proud of them in what we've done today. So please just take a moment and help us get the word to the next person, because that's what we're trying to do is to spread the truth. But we can't do it most of the time. It's harder because, especially on YouTube, is because they really control where information flows. You might be able to say a little more today than you could 2 years ago, but freedom of speech doesn't have anything to do with freedom of reach, because they control the freedom of reach. And that's where y'all guys come in and being able to get around that by sharing these videos. All right, I see some links coming in, so that's very cool.
Awesome. It says here the supernatural.show. What can people find there?
Well, the supernatural. Um, do you mind if I share my screen real quick?
Not at all. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Yeah. Here we go. You'll have to put it on stage. Okay, so this is the supernatural.show website. You can come here on a cell phone or on a computer, but it's better to come on a computer. It's a lot easier to work with and a lot more content if you come on a computer. But there's tons of things you can do here. One of the biggest things you could do here is if you've ever had a supernatural event happen in your life, and you might want to tell your story, whether you want to do it in person like me and Jesse are doing today, or whether you just want to tell it and have me read it sometime, you can do that. All you do is come here to the website, enter in your information, tell the story, or either select yes that you would be willing to tell your story live on air, and then submit it. It's right here under submit story. And then, of course, there's tons of other content and information on here, but I'm not going to use up Jesse's time for pushing my stuff too much, other than the fact is the website's there. If you want to go to the homepage, you can see all the different places that we're live and streaming to and uploading content to. So feel free to go there and check that out. Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. And then and I just wanted to say, anybody that does come over to our channel and subscribe, make a comment, because I add everyone as a moderator for a few reasons, not to time anyone up or block anyone. That's not what that's for on our channel. It's so that way you can share links of stuff we're talking about, or, Daniel's links or whatever. I love people sharing links because it's all about us all learning. And the other thing is that if there's other people in the chat that you see that you would like to connect with, you can find their channel and subscribe to their channel and stuff. So it's about building community. So if you do make a comment into our YouTube channel, I make everyone a moderator. So, that's kind of what we do. So just wanted to make that out there. And then your other one is, you have the Supernatural Show, you have a YouTube channel, and then you have the Logic Before Authority. What would be the difference?
Well, Logic Before Authority is when I first came on YouTube 15 years ago, I happened to have a channel that was called the Idaho Picker. It was because I bought and sold antiques at the time. And so I was a picker. I was going out and buying and selling things and stuff. And when I finally got ticked off enough that I started making videos and talking about things, I just used that channel because I didn't know what I was doing. I just used that channel. But then I transitioned. I finally kind of found my groove, and I came up with my channel named Logic Before Authority. It's using your own mind. Think for yourself before you listen to authority, so I came up with Logic Before Authority, and I've been going with that now for I don't know, it's probably been 13 years, something like that. And then recently, about a year ago, matter of fact, I decided I was being pushed to understand this supernatural thing, like a lot of things that happened in my life, like talking about manifesting lightning bolts, or things like this, and healings and all this supernatural things. And so I decided to create a show called The Supernatural.Show, or for the website, it's TheSupernatural.Show. But yeah, The Supernatural Show, and I have a co-host, and also which her name is Shannon, which I'd like to say hello to, and Dan. Dan is also on there a lot of times. He is my advisor. He's also a guy you might enjoy speaking with him, Jesse. He is a boots on the ground spiritual warrior. This dude got some serious, true supernatural stories of going. He goes like, if somebody's got a poltergeist situation on their piece of property, or he goes in and battles it. using the word of God, and goes in and battles it and casts them out, casts demons out, and does a lot of really heavy duty spiritual stuff. So, but hello to Dan too. And if you ever want to speak to Dan, just let me know and I'll hook you up with him, Jesse.
Yes, please. Anybody who you think would be great, Shannon, Dan. We have about 60 or 70 people pre-booked to be on our show, so we're booking in September right now. But yes, I'd put anybody into the queue because we want to share everybody's story. And one thing that we're doing here with the Missing Link Live is we're recording history of everybody that's speaking out during this pivotal time. So 20, 30 years now, they can look back at a whole Rolodex of thousands of people during this time, this crazy 2020, 2021, 22, 23, 24. And then they could just find what people were saying, where they were at. And for all of us to look back in 20, 30 years time from now and say, hey, this is what I was saying at that time. So it's just kind of like a record of history. And we feel that we've been called to do this.
Yeah, exactly. I'll check with Shannon and Dan and see if they'd like to. But one thing that came to mind is we're not in control of the internet. We're not in control even of StreamYard, even though we're using it. It made me think of we need to find a way to really protect this data, these recordings and all these things that are going on now, because who says that in 10 years, it may be legal to do this, or maybe there's a social credit system that you just can't do it. And videos like this would be bootleg information for people to be able to listen to, be like, oh my God, they knew it was happening and we didn't listen, or whatever was going to go down with it, It'd be an interesting thought as to thinking about how to protect this. Kind of like the guys back in the day when they wanted to protect information, they inscribed it on scrolls and different things, and they went out and hid it in caves and for that not to be found for thousands of years or hundreds of years. And I think that it would be a reasonable thought that something like that might need to take place.
Well, one thing that we're doing is obviously we're on 10 different platforms to try to get it out as many, because we never know what platform could do what at any time. But we're also keeping everything offline on a hard drive, right? So, and not plugged in. So in case anything ever does happen, we still have an actual hard drive copy of it. And actually in a few places, a few different hard drives. So we just want to make sure that, like this is our 805th interview. This is a lot of time and effort. And like, there's some amazing people and interviews that we've done over the last 3 years that we would never want to lose that, because it just, means so much, to us and to, everybody that's been able to witness these amazing interviews that we've been able to do over the years.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm recently starting to I've had some technical problems, and I'm recently having to try to figure out a way to back up and double back up everything again, because it's too dangerous to lose all this work. This is like our lives, and us literally going through tribulation, where it's getting pretty serious with the things that are going on. When they are attacking us inside our bodies with invisible weapons, that's getting pretty heavy duty, I think.
Totally. But just remember, and as crazy as this world is and all the things that are happening, if you're God's and you're protected by God, you have that connection. You have nothing to worry about. Don't be afraid. We're going to be okay. And if it's just, this life comes to an end, in the next year or two, who cares? That is what it is. If that's God's will, that's God's will. But don't be afraid. Stand up, speak out. Use your heart, be directed through your intuition and your heart, because, your heart won't lead you astray. And, know that you are protected. So don't be afraid of whatever it is around the corner, because you are made out of love, and God loves you. God is love. And if you know love, you know God.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there, Jesse.
Well, I love you, brother. Thanks so much for coming and sharing your stories and yourself here on the Missing Link.
You're very welcome, Jesse. We'll set it up, and I'll come back again here sometime in the near future.
Sounds good, brother. Well, thanks everybody for all your likes, comments, hearts, shares, and stars. We appreciate all of your love and support. All of you new people through Daniel's channel, please come over, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and at least come over and hit the thumbs up. It's up to you if you'd like to subscribe, but showing your appreciation to Daniel and his energy coming on our channel to just pumping that in the algorithm would be appreciated. May the source be with you and protection around you during this pivotal time in history, Daniel, and everybody else that is watching. Knowledge is power. The more knowledge we all have collectively, the less power they have over us. So keep learning, keep speaking, keep sharing, just keep being the best possible, God vibration that you can possibly be in. So love you all for one love, one heart, one life. Namaste, everyone. And if they ever ask you to put on a breathing inhibitor again, you know what to say. No maske. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Daniel.
All right, bro. Thank you, too.
Oh, we got another interview starting in about 3 hours with Patriot Underground. He's another podcaster who's interviewed a whole bunch of people. So it'll be a fascinating interview starting in about 3 hours. So y'all have a great day, and we'll see you next time we see you back here on The Missing Link. And message me anytime, Daniel.
All right, bro. Thank you, too, for having me.